Swagoo, is Dak Prescott this offseason going to get a monster contract extension?
I believe so, G. Yes. Dak played phenomenal. Obviously, we judge him off his playoff performance against Green Bay, but the reality is he was one of the better quarterbacks, if not top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL during the regular season. So they will get an extension done and start to build out the rest of this team, I hope.
Let's talk about Russell Wilson. Fascinating offseason for him. Where will he play next year?
The Las Vegas Raiders, Greeny. The Broncos obviously aren't going to be trading him to the Raiders, their in-division rival. But after being released, I forecast that Russell Wilson goes to the Silver and Black, a team that needs a quarterback upgrade this offseason and is limited in terms of resources to pull the trigger to do so. Russell Wilson, Antonio Pierce, a new AFC West power couple on this lovely Valentine's Day.
And he'll come cheap someplace, too, which is an interesting part of the dynamic. And then, Lewis, will Justin Fields be the Bears quarterback in 2024?
I'm afraid not, Greeny. I don't think he's going to be, although I would like to see him remain there and see them continue to build around him. I just think there's going to be just too much momentum as we move through this draft process for Caleb Williams to be the #1 overall pick of the Chicago Bears because, look, he is a fantastic talent. There are some things to iron out as far as just exactly how he is going to fit into the Chicago Bears culture, what changes he needs to make in terms of his development. But as far as the raw skills are concerned, you just can't argue with what Caleb has put on tape. You just can't.
Well, yeah, and so in the latest mock, which I have right here in my hands that we'll get to a little later, Field does, like everyone else, have Caleb Williams going #1 to Chicago. But sitting right here at this desk yesterday, Jeff Saturday suggested this about what the Bears might do with that #1 pick and their current QB.
If you're the organization and you have watched what happened to Mitchell Trubisky, you have watched what has happened to Justin Fields at this point, why would you go draft the first pick in the draft, throw him into a very similar, if not exact situation, and expect a different result? When you have a guy in the building that you can build around, because the reality is Caleb Williams is not winning a Super Bowl his first year in Chicago. Your team isn't winning it. So why don't you actually take care of Caleb Williams instead of trying to do the exact same thing you've already done and expect something differently?
So to be clear, he's suggesting that they draft Caleb Williams and keep Justin Fields. I have an opinion on that, but I don't want to prejudice the jury. Louis Riddick, I'll start with you as my team builder extraordinaire. What do you think of that idea?
No, you know I love Saturday. Saturday's the dude, but he's wrong. You can't do that. You can't draft Caleb Williams and have Justin Fields be what? Is he just going to be a placeholder? Justin Fields is going to play the Alex Smith, the Patrick Mahomes? That's not what he's there for. Justin Fields is still trying to get his career on track. And quite honestly, I think in Chicago, they're probably looking at it like this. We're resetting the clock again, as many people like to say. We're resetting it with a rookie quarterback. We already have some things in place now. We had a dynamic running game last year. We have an improving offensive line. We still need a couple more weapons on the perimeter to go along with what we already have. And we have a new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron who we can start over with from ground zero with Caleb Williams. I think Chicago needs to do right by Justin Fields. There are two teams in particular that we're going to get to that would love to start over with Justin Fields, that he fits perfectly with. Now, I'm not saying I want to move on from Justin Fields because we all know he has not been set up to succeed there. We say it all the time about quarterbacks, yet with this kid, we want to say, well, we already know what he is. We already know we just move on from Caleb Williams. Well, that rationale, it's not a direct correlation. That's not true. But I understand the movement and the push to want to have Caleb Williams on your team because I'll tell you this, his tape is absolutely electric. It's not perfect, but I'd have a hard time passing on him too.
Right. So, again, we all love Jeff Saturday, but to use his own words, he's high. He's, as he would say, on that good. So, assuming we all disagree with him, I don't pronounce it as well as he does. It sounds a little better with this accent.
No, it sounds great, man. It sounds perfect.
He's on that good, he would say to me. But anyway, the point of it is this, Swagoo. Everyone is pointing south. Everyone is pointing toward Jeff's hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, for Justin Fields. How do you like it?
Yeah. I like it a lot. I like the offensive coordinator. I like Raheem Morris coming over as a head coach. And Lou just mentioned the reset in Chicago. That's what it would be in Atlanta with a phenomenal athlete who can play the quarterback position. I think this is very similar. G, you know, and Lou been on with me and Phil as well. Babyface, I was hard on Baker Mayfield early in his career. And all of the change that took place, all of the things that happened in Cleveland, he left and played for Sean McVay for a week and a half, being facetious, and then went and joined up with Dave Canales in Tampa, and we saw the best of Baker Mayfield. I think Justin Fields should be warranted that chance in Atlanta, and also I'm with Lou about bringing Caleb Williams into Chicago, because it is electric when you turn the tape on. There's some of that stuff that we see a lot of these top-tier quarterbacks doing, but I think Atlanta would be a perfect destination, and he'll be close to home. He would be phenomenal with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, that is where he grew up. He went to Georgia initially, for folks who don't know, and then ultimately transferred to Ohio State. So, Yates, your primary area here is draft stuff, and I listen to you and Mel with the First Draft podcast every single week. If you go back, if we're just looking at Caleb Williams as a prospect versus Justin Fields as a prospect, because let's just live in a world where we say we haven't seen him scratch the surface of what he's capable of doing, which I think is what Lewis said, only he said a little more nicely than I have. How do they compare if you're Chicago making that decision?
Well, I was a big fan of Justin Fields come out of Ohio State, Green. Remember, he had one of the most remarkable performances in college football playoff history when he went toe-to-toe and actually unseated Trevor Lawrence, 6 passing touchdowns against that Clemson defense. So while I think that Caleb Williams will obviously be drafted higher than where Justin Fields was back just a few years ago as the 10th overall pick after the Bears traded up, I think Caleb Williams is a slightly higher-graded player, and Caleb Williams this year was down relative to last season, Greeny, and yet still every single week there's 4 or 5 plays outside of the pocket, inside the pocket, moving on the run, running to his right, running to his left, doing something innovative, which make your jaw drop. Caleb is that special of a player. Over the past 2 seasons, over 90 touchdowns accounted for, not just 30-plus passing touchdowns in each of the past 2 seasons, Greeny, but 10-plus rushing touchdowns.
I was just going to add, look, I may disagree with Field a little bit in terms of Caleb's ability to run the football. There are multiple clips of this guy taking off out of the pocket, whether it be on RPOs or just broken plays, and he is absolutely destroying pursuit angles from defenders. And I'm sitting there going, look, maybe I'm underestimating just how good he is outside the pocket as far as being a pure runner. Now, Jaden Daniels, you turn on some of the plays for LSU, and I'm sure Marcus has seen plenty of this with their design quarterback draws. Jaden Daniels is absolutely electric, but what you're getting, I think, here with Caleb is a guy who can, one, make all of the kind of different off-platform throws that you see a certain number 15 make. Caleb can do some of the same things with his feet square, changing arm angles, and when he gets out and he actually gets on the perimeter, this dude can take it the distance on you now. I think what happened with him was a lot of times you would like to see him play more in rhythm. You would like to see the ball get out of his hands faster instead of 3+ seconds like you see many times. But I think also there are times now where his offensive line is just atrocious. And he's having to create. He's having to play outside of structure. I think a lot of that will start to condense and look a lot cleaner once the protection gets better for him. And he will be able to win from the pocket. But do not sleep on Caleb Williams outside the pocket now. He will rip you along with that absolutely, I think, one-of-one type of throwing ability that he has.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Lou. Just getting close to the draft, the season ending, it's very deceiving. And I know we throw around a lot of comparisons. It is Mahomes like when he runs, though, because when Pat has to have it, it seems like that walk like a soccer mom turns into a run like a sprinter, dog. And it's one of them things where you play. I'm saying it from experience as a defensive lineman, and Lou can talk about it from a secondary. You think you have the angle. Because in your mind, this dude ain't that fast. Because when you watch him on film, it's like, yo, this is not, like, we can handle this. We don't need to be super cautious in the rush. And as we just saw in the playoffs in the NFL with Pat Mahomes, you better be super cautious when you rush. And when you're a linebacker and you in pursuit, he is going a little bit faster than you think he is. And Caleb reminds me of that when I watched him on tape.
I'm good with all of this, but I think it's important, Field, that all of us sort of plant a flag on an opinion on all this stuff because it's going to shake out. And I'm going to say that we can sit here and talk about how much Caleb Williams looks like Patrick Mahomes. Justin Fields, in my opinion, is the second best running quarterback in the National Football League behind Lamar Jackson.
Correct.
He's as good a runner as Jaden Daniels is, but he's got to be 25 pounds heavier, bigger, stronger. In college, he threw 67 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He was not a running quarterback in college. He was a passing quarterback in college. He has been, in my opinion, Field, completely mishandled from the moment he got to Chicago. I don't think practically anyone could have succeeded in the circumstances he's been in. And he is, in my view, a sleeping giant. If he winds up in the right place, I think Justin Fields has a chance to be an outstanding player.
Yeah, and Greeny, I think there are people that feel comparably to how you do. We'll see what the trade market bears out for Justin Fields, assuming that the Bears do, in fact, take Caleb Williams #1 overall. But this is a unique opportunity. If the Bears did not own the #1 pick and instead just owned pick #9, I don't think any of us on this panel would be advocating for Chicago to move up the draft board to take a quarterback prospect in the first round. But when you have this bonus pick from the brilliant trade down you made a season ago, you have an opportunity to not just reset the financial clock at the quarterback spot, but also land a player in Caleb Williams who has franchise-altering ability that I think that right now is higher upside than what Justin Fields has shown, even with the good stuff he has shown through the first 3 seasons of his career.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not sitting here telling you they shouldn't take Caleb Williams. I'm just saying the Justin Fields of this all, that story has not been written. Let me leave that there for the moment.